You already know what time it is. It is time for another prediction video. Yeah, good morning. It's me, Uncle Battis, live here on YouTube. Um, I've already done several prediction videos. I've done Georgia, Arizona State, Penn State, Florida State. Today is Alabama Crimson Tide. Um, like I said in those other prediction videos, I'll pretty much go through each game, each week, and give you a win or a loss prediction. Like I mentioned before, I'm not like other YouTubers who just pop up a record and say, "Okay, that's what I think they're gonna go." La di 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 da, bunch of bullshit. No, if there's a game or multiple games I think a team's gonna lose, I will point them out. That way, you know who I specifically think they're gonna lose to. Um, Now, last season, obviously a pretty disappointing season for Alabama fans. Obviously, if you would ask any Alabama fan what their expectations are, it's either like a national title or at least making playoffs every year. If they don't do that, it's just it, it it's not a good season at all. Um, but they're particularly more like expecting national championships because they're so used to having Nick Saban there getting the national titles and all that. And I mean, I hate to say this to Alabama fans, but you're not going to get that. I'm not saying you're not going to win any more national titles, but you're not going to get another Nick Saban. You're not. Um, so you're gonna have multiple seasons where you're gonna go like maybe 10-2, 9-3, 11-1, and all that. So you're gonna have to probably lower your expectations a little bit to at least just making playoffs. Maybe not win a national title every year. Um, but like I said, last season, obviously, disappointing year. They went 9-3. They just lost some games that just they weren't predicted to lose to, that they shouldn't have lost to, and they did. Obviously, they beat Georgia last season, which, like I mentioned in the Georgia video, not really a shocker. Georgia just can't beat Alabama. But also, like I mentioned in the Georgia prediction video, Alabama versus Georgia, that is Alabama's like Super Bowl. Like that's the game they always try and win. And then after that, it's like they just don't give a shit. Um, so they beat Georgia last season, but about the losses, just unacceptable to lose to Vanderbilt. I mean, I remember watching game day that day. Nick Saban over here trying to say Vanderbilt's a tough place to play at. No, not. It's not really. Not really. It isn't. Uh, but even if it were, Vanderbilt don't have a good team like hardly ever, so you shouldn't lose to them. Uh, they obviously lost to Tennessee last season, but Tennessee was a good team. They did make to the playoffs, so that's a pretty reasonable loss. But then you took a second loss during the season to Oklahoma, which they were a complete shit show. They had Jackson Arnold, which is probably one of the worst quarterbacks, honestly. Sorry, Auburn fans, but I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you. He's just not that good of a quarterback. Only thing he's really decently good at is running the ball. He can't really throw it that well, or at least I haven't seen him throw it that well a whole lot. But Oklahoma just was a complete shit show, and they beat Bama like they were a top five team last season. It's just it was completely unacceptable. Then they faced Michigan in a bowl game, lost that game, so they went overall 9-4, 9-3 regular season, 9-4 overall. So it just was a very disappointing season. Now this season, I do think they're gonna do better. I don't see how Alabama can do as horrible as they did last season. Obviously they are bringing in Ryan Grubb from who was at Washington with Kalen DeBoer. So him reuniting with Kalen DeBoer, I think that'll be pretty good for Kalen DeBoer and uh, the team. Uh, Obviously, if you talk about key players that you lost, obviously Jalen Milroe, you lost Justin Haynes, who transferred over to Michigan. Uh, you lost obviously a few other offensive pieces. But you also gained a few pieces. You also gained like Isaiah Horton, receiver. I believe he came from Miami, if I'm not mistaken. You went out and got a pretty good tight end. Um, I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, you got a few offensive linemen too to help protect what I think will be Ty Simpson's era this season. Uh, Obviously, I'm a believer in Keelan Russell. I do think he's a really damn good quarterback. I would expect to see him at some point during the season, like for multiple games, whether that's in blowout games or maybe like a few key moments in like some big games. Because I think what Alabama will do this season is sort of what Texas did last season with the Arch Manning and Quinn Ewers. I would expect Ty Simpson to be the starter, but I would expect Keelan Russell to get some playing time, maybe do sort of what Arch Manning did last season. Um, I think Keelan Russell is a really good quarterback. Uh, so I do think we'll see him at some point, but I do think Ty Simpson will be the starter. Um, and as far as the like rest of the offense goes, the offensive line will be pretty damn good. Like I just mentioned, I'm pretty sure you guys went out and got a few offensive linemen. You also got a receiver. You have two receivers returning, and Jermaine Burton and Ryan Williams. Obviously Ryan Williams, like last season, was he had like the spotlight on him. Um, I think he'll have the spotlight on him this season too. But Jermaine Burton, he's one of those receivers that I mean, you can't just focus on Ryan Williams, because I mean Jermaine, he's one of those receivers that I mean he's pretty damn good. He's another good NFL caliber type of receiver that you don't want to just leave him alone a lot, because I mean he can cook you too. So I mean their receivers are gonna be good. Their offensive line I don't have any problem with. So as far as their passing game goes, just their offense in total this season, I would expect it to be better. I think the reason why it wasn't so well last season, obviously I think the Ryan Grubb, I think if he was there last season, that would have maybe made it a little better. But I think what really sort of held them back was Jalen Milroe. And I know there may be some Alabama fans. I know not all Alabama fans, but I think there might be some Alabama fans that think he was some great quarterback. I really don't think he was that great. Obviously, like as far as a physical quarterback, he had that. But like as far as just a like another type of quarterback. Like he just wasn't that great of a quarterback. I mean, there were several times where like he couldn't throw like the ball to receivers like about like sort of mid route passes. He couldn't really throw it to receivers. He took way too many sacks. It seems like, and you can't do that as a quarterback. So I just think losing him shouldn't hurt you really a whole lot. Now I don't think Ty Simpson is a plus of an upgrade, but I do think he will be better than Jalen Milroe. Like I said, he's no it, I don't think Ty Simpson's no like DJ Lagway or Lenore Sellers or a quarterback like that, but I do think he's better than Jalen Milroe. So I think he'll do better. Then like I mentioned, the Ryan Grubb offensive coordinator hire. I think him reuniting with Kalen DeBoer will help as well. So as far as their offense goes, I would expect it to be better, but we'll see. But I expect it to be better. As far as their defense goes, I think they're gonna have one of the best defenses. I really do. The only question I have about Alabama's defense is probably their defensive linemen, and they're not the only school that, as far as their defensive linemen go, like if you look at all the teams that recruit in the top like 5, top 10, and all that, it seems like they're all kind of struggling with about like defensive linemen and all that as far as like the depth goes. I just don't think Alabama's as like deep in that position. as they were like a few seasons ago with like Nick Saban. So I mean, as other than that position though, I think they're going to be just fine. Like I said, I think they're going to have one of the best defenses, not only in the SEC, but just as far as the whole in the whole country. So I do expect Alabama to be a better team this season. And like I mentioned about the losses, I just don't think with Kalen DeBoer, I think you're less likely to see mistakes like he had last season. Now, I'm not gonna, sit here and tell you that he took over a top program and all that. He should have done better and all that. That was just his first year. So I can't really, say a whole lot about it. But I just from now on, I would expect him not to make as many mistakes and lose like games like he did last season, like to Vanderbilt and Oklahoma. I don't think that's you know acceptable to lose to teams like that anymore. Especially when they're not good and you're clearly better than them. So I think you're less likely to see mistakes like that from him. Um, so we'll see what happens. But uh, let's go ahead and get into the schedule, and I'll try my best to predict what I think Alabama's record's going to be. Now, you start off in week one against Florida State at Florida State. I think you win this game. I think Alabama's favored by like 12 or something like that. It may have went up now. I just think Florida State, they're still in the like they're still at the point where they're still figuring out pretty much sort of their team identity. They're still trying to figure out a whole bunch of other shit too. Um, and I just think Alabama's too much for them. And like I said in the Florida State prediction video, Florida State they're in a position right now where I feel like if they don't go 8-4 or better, I think Mike Norvell could be fired and all that. And I just also about Florida State, I just don't know, you know, what the hell they're doing down there. Like I said, they brought in 23 transfer players. You don't do that, and that's another thing I wanted to talk about with like Alabama and all that. But like I mentioned about adding that tight end that they went and got, and Isaiah Horn, receiver from Miami. The Alabama is showing you what teams like Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, and teams like those need to do. They just go out and plug in holes that need to be filled. They don't do what Florida State does and go out and get a whole damn team. No, that's not what you're supposed to do. If you do that, then I don't know. I mean, if you're doing that, then you must be very very desperate and very very uh just a shitty team. But anyway, I think you beat Florida State. I mean, maybe Florida State hangs in there for maybe like the first quarter, maybe like a little bit second quarter and all that. But I mean, I don't think Alabama's gonna win by like 70 points or something like that. But I don't think Florida State's gonna score like 35 points or anything like that. So I would expect you to take care of business against Florida State. Then you have a home game against UL Monroe. That's an easy win. Alabama will probably have their backups in around like third quarter, so you should easily win that game. Next week you have a home game against Wisconsin. Wisconsin, they're kind of like a mediocre team. That obviously their head coach Luke Fickell, he had that one great season at Cincinnati, where they did lose to Alabama in the college football playoff. That he hasn't done a whole lot down there in Wisconsin, but Wisconsin's one of those teams that they're sort of mediocre. They can be good at some times, and then they just play shitty at other times. But I do think you'll win this game. Obviously, it's a home game, so I think you win that game. Then you have a bye week. Then you have a road game at Georgia. Like I said in the Georgia video, until Georgia proves me wrong that they can beat Alabama, I have to go with Alabama. So for that reason, I'm giving Alabama the win here. I have them coming into Sanford Stadium, breaking Georgia's home game win streak. Uh, I I just and like I said in the Penn State video, the Georgia and Alabama game reminds me sort of the Penn State and Ohio State game. Penn State can't beat Ohio State, or at least they can't prove it. Same thing with Georgia and Alabama. Georgia just can't seem to beat Alabama. So until Georgia proves me wrong, I can't go with Georgia. I can't. Now, this will be a good game, or at least I think it will. Um, I think Georgia will be a pretty damn good team again. I think their defense is going to be good. I think their offense is going to be good. I don't think they're going to play like they did last season. Last season, they were a different team each week. So I do think Georgia will be damn good again this season. I'm pretty high on them. But as far as this game goes, I can't go with Georgia until they prove me wrong. I can't go with them, and nobody can blame me for picking Alabama this game for that reason. Um, so I think you go into Sanford Stadium and beat Georgia. Uh, the next week, you have a home game against Vanderbilt. I don't see you losing to Vanderbilt 2 years in a row, or at least you shouldn't. If you do lose this, then I don't know. I mean, if you can beat a team like Georgia, Ohio State, or something like that, then you should easily be able to beat a team like Vanderbilt. Now, obviously, Vanderbilt has a pretty good quarterback. I mean, he's a little cocky, calling out like Tennessee and all that, but I mean, he does seem like he's a pretty good quarterback. But the fact of the matter is that Vanderbilt, they still are nowhere near close to competing in like the SEC for like an SEC title game or something like that. They're just not close yet, and who knows if they ever will be. Um, so you should easily win this game. And like I said, if you don't, then you got real issues that need to be addressed immediately. Um, Next week you have a road game at Missouri. Missouri. Now, a few years ago, because I watched like a few like people's videos and all that talking about tough places to play at and all that. I'm not saying that Missouri is like a top, like three SEC place to play at. But like a few years ago, I went to the Georgia at Missouri game. This was when Stetson Bennett and Darnell Washington, Brock Bowers, all of them were still at Georgia. That place, it. Fuck, those fans are annoying. I'm sorry, Missouri fans, but you guys are just so damn annoying. I mean, I think my eardrums were damn bleeding because of how damn loud the people were behind me and just how loud the stadium was. Um, I think Bama is obviously a better team. I think you'll win this game, but that stadium is just. I mean, once it gets rocking, I mean, holy fuck, man, it's tough to make it stop. It's probably one of the stadiums that I hate going to because it's just because of how loud it is. But I do think Alabama will beat Missouri. Obviously, Brady Cook ain't there. Luther Burden ain't there. And last season Missouri was probably one of the worst 9-3 teams last season. They went 9-3, and it feels like every week they're ranked. It felt like if they lost, they stayed where they were or went down like maybe one or two spots. They were one of the worst 9-3 teams last season, and nobody can tell me otherwise. So I think Alabama goes in to Missouri and beats them. Um, Next week, you have a home game against Tennessee. Obviously, Tennessee, Nico ain't there anymore. They lost Dylan Sampson. They lost a amazing defensive player to the NFL draft. Tennessee, I think Tennessee's going to take a little bit of a step down this year. I don't think they're going to do terrible to where they only win like three or four games. But I do think they're going to take a step back this season. Obviously they went out and got a group of five. Joey Aguilar, is that his name? I don't know what the hell his name is. All I know is he came from a group of five school. I don't know how good he's going to be, but like I said, I just don't think this is going to be the same Tennessee team. It's a home game for Alabama. So I think you beat Tennessee this season. Like I said, it is a rivalry game. It is, so it may be a little competitive for a little bit, but I think Alabama will come out on top in this game. Um, the next week, you have a road game at South Carolina. I'm gonna give you a loss here. I just think this season, South Carolina, I think they're still gonna be a little like hurt that they lost the game against Alabama last season in Alabama, which they should have won that game. Honestly, in my opinion, they had every chance to win that game, and they didn't capitalize on it, and they lost that. So I think they're gonna be a little pissed, and they're gonna really want this win. Um, it's a road game. That's another reason why. I just think South Carolina is going to really want this win badly, and so I'm going to have to give you a loss here. Um, then the next week you have a game against LSU. I'm going to give you the win here. This game feels like it's always been a decently good game. Now, last season, obviously, Alabama just they just blew LSU out. But this season, I think it'll be a good game. I just think if you had to ask me who I trust more, I gotta go with Alabama. It's just Brian Kelly. I mean, he's like struggling to like win big games, um, and until he does, I can't really trust him. So I think you're gonna beat LSU at home. Obviously LSU has Garrett Nussmeier returning and all that. They went out in the transfer portal, got a lot of good players. I think LSU is gonna be really good this season. But I trust Alabama in this game. And like I said, it's a home game, so I think Alabama beats LSU here. Um, Next week you have a home game against Oklahoma. I think you'll win this game. I do obviously think Oklahoma will be a better, improved team next season, but um, I just don't think they're quite there yet, where they can, you know, really compete yet. But I do think they'll be better. Um, Obviously, Jackson Arnold ain't there, but I do think they got a huge upgrade in John Mateer from Washington State. They're bringing in the Washington State offensive coordinator who knows Oklahoma's new quarterback pretty well. So I do think that'll be better and all that. But I got to go with Alabama in this game. I don't think Oklahoma is going to go into Tuscaloosa and beat Alabama. So for that reason, I have Alabama winning there. Um, Next week, you have a home game against Illinois. That's an easy win. That's like the UL Monroe after the Florida State game. Your second stringers will probably be in by like the third quarter or something like that. Um, then you end off the season at Auburn. There's been a few years where this game has been a real nail biter. I do think Auburn is a little bit improved. Like I mentioned, Jackson Arnold, I don't think that's really a huge improvement from your previous quarterback. But they did go out and get several receivers. They got a few defensive players. So I do think Auburn will be maybe a little tad bit better, but I don't see them beating Alabama, even though it's a home game. But I mean, like I said, there's been several years where Alabama's been better, or you know they're about even and all that, and it's been a good game and all that. So there's been several seasons where this game has been a really good game, and that could be a good game this season. I don't know, but I think Alabama is the better team, and I think they'll show that in this game, and I do think they'll win this game. So I mean, there you have it. I got Alabama going 11-1. Uh, the only game I have them losing to is at South Carolina. Like I mentioned, that I think South Carolina is a little still bitter about losing that game to Alabama last season. And I think they're gonna really want to bounce back and get a win against Alabama this season. I think South Carolina is going to be one of the best SEC teams this season. They could even be a playoff team this season. As far as other games, I if Alabama was going to lose a second game, I feel like it would be at Georgia. But like I said in that, I can't go with Georgia until they prove me wrong. I can't. And you can't blame me for saying that. I mean, you can't. I'm a Georgia fan. No, I mean, if Georgia, you know, would be able to beat Bama and all that, I'd feel comfortable picking Georgia. But I've seen them do it once, and that was in their national title win. Other than that, I haven't seen them do it recently. So I got to go with Alabama. But if they were to lose the second game, I feel like it would be that. I don't think they would lose to Florida State. I don't think they'd lose to Tennessee. I guess I guess maybe LSU, maybe. Um, but if they were going to lose any other games, it'd either be to Georgia or LSU. Other than those other teams, I don't see anybody else having a chance of beating them. Oklahoma, I don't see. Neither do I see with Auburn. But there you have it. I got them going 11-1, more than likely making the SEC championship game. And whether they win or lose, more than likely making the college football playoff. And coming back to the playoffs, not having a second season of a shitty season. But make sure to comment down below who you want me to do next. Make sure you subscribed. And as always, have a good morning.